Which it's dining with David. All right.
Go up there.
I'm good. How are you, David? Ooh, and I see a mocktail.
Tiffy, were you able to get the new video?
Can you see me?
Oh, I forgot to put it on. I forgot to include it. I'll show it tomorrow.
Okay.
Can
You
this
see?
is more-
Yes, you can see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while Chef David is getting his microphone ready, I'm just going to let you know what's going out on our Thirsty Thursday cart today. It's a patriotic lemonade sparkler. So it just has strawberries and blueberries for layering, and then it's lemonade and seltzer to give you a little carbonation. And this is going to be available today on the drink carts as well as this coming Monday for, what's the
Memorial.
For Memorial Day, and what's the movie we're featuring?
The longest day.
The Longest Day. So you have 2 opportunities to try it.
Julie, that's a first squeeze lemonade, right?
Right.
Yes.
Green.
All right.
Yeah, good.
That's good.
All right. You started?
Yes.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
Hi, Dave.
Dave and his harem.
Uh,
All the women in here.
I'm a lucky guy. All right, so National Buttermilk Biscuit Day was last week, and it was the week before that just out of whim, I decided to make buttermilk biscuits at home. And I love the recipe. I used to work at a restaurant called Social Chicago on Clark and Polk on Printers Row, and I was in charge of running brunch, so it was my job to make biscuits. And love the recipe. It's super easy. Most people have a lot of this available. And then I'm going to do the pork sausage, which a couple of secrets that I like to do with my pork sausage for the gravy. But I'm going to start with getting a pan going. We're going to get the sausage going because that's probably going to take the longest to cook up. We're going to go a little bit kind of medium-low heat so I can stay busy doing this stuff without burning the sausage. And so is there a spatula?
Now there's a little rolling pin.
Supposed to grab a spatula. I thought I had one. We will make do,
Can we check the beef spoon?
actually, and when I get ground beef or ground pork or anything going, I usually start with a little bit of oil on the bottom. It just helps to get it going before the fat starts to render off. I've got a
Is there a
pound.
particular oil type you're using there?
This is just straight up olive oil. I use grapeseed oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. Just get that in there.
And I think someone went to go get you a spatula.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good show.
All right.
Either that or that's a good sausage burger.
We'll make a sausage patty for sure. All right, so the recipe, and I forgot gloves, so my hands are gonna get a little dirty. But it's all right. We're not gonna eat these anyway. I've got a cup of all-purpose flour.
This says we don't eat biscuits, David.
Yeah, really.
I've got some already cooked. We'll share. I've got, so I just threw it right in the bowl because we're gonna go ahead and add a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking, quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and a teaspoon of a little bit more well-rounded teaspoon of kosher salt. So pretty easy. We've got, this is 4 ounces of butter that I've diced up. And after I diced it, I put it back in the fridge. You can actually pop it in the freezer for a little bit. You want to work with cold butter because the cold butter, you don't want it to get too mushy in the mixture because the butter is actually the leavener. The leavener means that that's what causes the biscuit to rise. So nice cold butter. Thank you, appreciate it. And we're gonna go ahead and just toss that right in. And I have 1 cup of buttermilk.
So is there a certain size you want the butter to be once you cut it up?
This is a little bit larger than the way I was taught in culinary school. Usually they talk about pea size, the size of a pea. But I like it to be a little bit a little bit bigger. These are kind of maybe 1/4 inch square chunks. It just adds so much more buttery flavor. And you'll really see, those, the way the biscuit rises once it's baked, you really see that the splits, the layers of the biscuit itself are just beautiful and delicious. So I'm going to go ahead, and the trick I want to share with everybody, whether they do it in my wet top right here, right in front of me. So when you're mixing in a bowl and you need your 2 hands, the bowl will flop around with you. Kind of like that. That's pretty hard to work with. So the trick is to take a wet towel, kind of just wrap it up, and make a little pocket, little nest. And set our bowl right in there. And again, I start in the middle, create like a little well, and just slowly start pouring and incorporating all your ingredients. Start working towards the sides a little bit. Get it all in. Get the buttermilk in. And I'm going to keep working it sort of from the center, working my way out. See how wet it is down here in the middle. We're going to get all that incorporated. Start bringing it in from the sides. And once I get most of the flour incorporated, I'm going to the best tools we have, my hands. There we go. So it's not so wet. Get a little bit easier to work with. Some gloves on. There we go. Sure. I know. That looks good. I know you're gonna be beat, but that looks
I did not
delicious.
compete, but I.
All right, so now I've got some gloves on, and I'm gonna kind of just get the batter out of the whisk. Just pull it out, shake it out.
So Dave, I know that most people tend to shy away at home from using their hands during cooking. Do you have any secret tips or tricks to keep your hands cleaner when you're working with a musty dough or a sticky dough like this?
Flour, yes, I actually have some with me, some extra flour. When we roll it out a little bit, we'll need some extra. But as soon as I get this off of my whisk, a little extra flour, it's right in your hands. For example, if I wasn't wearing gloves, same thing, it's right in your bare hands. And I'm going to start working this. Just making a ball of flour, butter, and I'll show it up. You'll be able to see the chunks of butter in the dough ball.
So Dave, how many ingredients are in the biscuit dough that you're making?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients.
Do you know how many ingredients are in biscuit dough cans that you buy in the store?
I do not.
30.
Huh?
30.
Way more because of stuff we can't pronounce.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, biscuits that you buy at the store actually have about anywhere from 30 to 46 ingredients depending on the manufacturer. So
That's crazy.
talking
Oh,
about
that
keeping your ingredient list low and, making things at home with what you have. This is a great and easy recipe to make that's much healthier for you in terms, not necessarily because of the butter, but keeping out all those added preservatives and things like that out of your diet. So
You can see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, not kind of far away, but you can see big chunks of butter in there, and that's just going to be very flavorful.
So how long would it say it took you to mix up that dough?
Just a few minutes.
This is live TV. This is live TV, so he literally did it
In minutes.
in minutes. Yeah.
Do you know how many minutes it usually takes somebody to get over the fear of popping a biscuit can? See, all the time that you have the anxiety of popping the biscuit can, you can just make it go yourself.
You need to ask Stacy that, because Stacy is the queen of the buttermilk can biscuits.
I usually stick a knife in it and
Pop it. Oh, you stick a knife and pop it.
Yeah.
Okay. Brave soul you.
All right, so put a little flour on my cutting board. Now we will the room here. Robin's French rolling pin. I was actually going to bring in what I used at my biscuit making last week was I didn't have a rolling pin, so I used an old olive oil bottle that I had laying around. Or if you have an empty wine bottle, works out fantastic.
Does it have to be empty then?
No, not necessarily.
Well,
In my
That's
case,
stuff
it
they
usually
empty
is.
those wine bottles.
The wine bottle's usually empty for me.
So when you're rolling out biscuit dough, you probably want a chilled white wine bottle that's still cold for you.
That would be nice, yes. That will help keep the butter cold.
There you go.
All right, so depending on how thick you like your biscuits, you can go a little bit thinner, keep them a little bit thicker. The baking time will adjust just a little bit based on the thickness. But I'm actually going to keep these, see if I can get a couple more out of them. And I've just got a circle cutter. You can use probably an empty tin can if you don't have a cutter.
Glass.
A wine glass. It's always
Well.
about the alcohol.
Well, before you pour your white wine into the glass, you could use the empty wine glass to cook your biscuit.
Exactly. All right, I need to make this wide enough, so I'm going to go ahead and bring this back together a little bit.
So David, I noticed that you put the cookie cutter in and you twisted it.
Just a little bit to kind of
Okay.
release it.
Because I've heard from other, pseudo chefs, I trust you, who said not to twist, but
I think it might depend on the product and what you're baking and what you're twisting. I know
Uh-huh.
for cookies, I think for my mom would bake kolaczkis, Polish kolaczkis, and she would always twist. Maybe
Uh-huh.
that's where it's just a natural
Oh,
thing
okay.
for me to twist, but
Okay.
I know I have heard that as well. There's
Yeah,
certain
that it
things
was like your
you don't want to twist.
biscuit wouldn't rise or whatever.
Pasta maybe, things like that?
I don't
I'm
know,
not sure.
pasta.
All right.
So Dave, how many biscuits do you think you've made in your career?
2,000?
2,000? Well, if you picture how many biscuits are consumed in the world every year, and I don't have an exact number, but the estimated amount would circle the world twice, stacked end to end, believe it or not.
Wow.
So you have a lot more biscuits to make before I think you accomplished that goal, huh?
Wanted to travel the world, but I don't know if I want to do it that way. Good.
Well, and earlier today I was talking because, showing off our cookies that Robin made. And the fact that in England, they call cookies biscuits.
Yeah.
So, you can get a little confused when you go over there because you're like, I want biscuits and gravy, and they're gonna look at you going, you want a cookie with, gravy? So, just saying.
may not be
Yeah, you
bad.
have to actually order American biscuits over there, or else you'll end up with a sweet pastry, or something similar to a scone.
Yes.
All right, so for that batch, for me and my wife, that's perfect. We'll probably each only have one biscuit. We got 2 left over for the next day. One I'll eat late at night after a couple of cocktails. So there's our biscuits. Pop those actually, one last step. I don't have a pastry brush, so I'm actually just gonna brush a little bit of butter right on the top. It was melted, but it solidified it up a little bit while we were getting ready.
Now, Stacy, do you think you could make this with 6 ingredients?
Yes, I do think so.
You could have some strawberry jam. at home in your refrigerator?
Yeah, now if you tell me to make the strawberry
No,
jam.
no, no.
No, but I can open the jar.
You will, okay.
Also, homemade biscuits are also great with local honey too.
Oh, yeah. Butter, sugar, honey.
So we're getting there on the fork, get this
Strawberry.
chopped up just a little bit. And basically to make the gravy, rather than make a roux with butter and flour, I'm actually going to use the fat from the pork. Not
What is
exactly.
a roux?
Pardon me?
What is a roux?
A roux is the
Baby
base of
kangaroo.
a sauce or a thickener. You can use it to thicken up sauces. You can create one of your mother sauces like a bechamel. It's a nice base for a gravy or a sauce.
Dave, I think that would be a great dining with David segment is making the mother sauces.
Okay, we can do that. That'd be fun. Seeing as stocks, soups, and sauces are one of my favorite things that I learned in culinary school, because you can do so much, starting with the base. And let that go just a little bit longer. We're getting there while I start the other wonderful part about biscuits and gravy.
So how long would you want those biscuits to cook in the oven for?
Depending on the thickness, these are a little bit on the kind of medium to thin side. So I'd say anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes, but I actually check them about 8 or 9 minutes, just in case they're not browning evenly. Turn them around, pop them back in, and then double it up with another 8 minutes, and then tail end will be a couple more minutes. So usually between 15 and 20 minutes.
And is it really the brownness that you're looking for that shows you that they're baked all the way
You'll
through?
see them rise a little bit. You'll see the flakiness. You know, if you wanted to, you can kind of just sort of give them a little push as if you would a cake. And if it springs back real nice, you know that it's done. If it kind of, you push it, it stays, you know, still a little bit wet inside.
Just making sure Stacy has plenty of tips, because she's gonna make biscuits for us.
And what was that cooking temperature for the biscuits?
Pardon?
What was the cooking temperature that you
Oh,
would use?
350 for about 15 to 20 minutes. Check them, and you may need to turn them halfway through.
And you also put a parchment paper underneath the biscuits, is that right?
Yes, so that's another way to keep the biscuits from sticking. Easy cleanup. You could spray a pan if you wanted to, a little bit of oil on the bottom of the sheet pan if you don't have any parchment paper. Wax paper would work just as well. This is looking great. Okay, the secret to a sausage gravy for me is the ingredients. You need to put a cut glove on real quick, because we're going to do a little fresh sage. Dried sage works great. I actually like dry sage in something like this. It's more earthy, savory. And we actually didn't have any dried sage in-house. The fresh sage is actually going to be a nice kind of brighter, almost springtime. You know, the weather's getting nice outside, and I'm just going to take the sage leaves off.
Chef Davis, somebody had an herb garden, they grew sage. Is there any special tricks to storing it or drying it out to use it for the winter months?
You could take some string, and you would kind of make a little wrap and hang them from your, like a window by the kitchen or something like that. Just let them dry out through the fall, and they'll be beautiful. And then just kind of crunch them up into a bowl, into a container, and now you've got some fresh dry sage. Fresh dry sage. Say that 10 times.
Yeah. Is that the same rule of thumb for most herbs?
Absolutely. Thyme, even chili peppers, you know, things like that. All your herbs you can do the same way. And I'm just going to do a rough chop on this. So I'm going to take a little ball. And I'm not worried about the sausage, because a little bit of char and a little bit of color is going to be absolutely beautiful with the flavor. This is basically like a rough chiffonade, if you will. And I'm going to leave it a little chunky.
So Dave,
So Stephanie, on Friday, Linda Longoria was talking about the health benefits of sage. Can you tell us what those are? Because I don't remember.
I don't remember what she said either.
So this is my third tablespoon. This is a good amount of fat. Mix it down a little bit. And you can actually see the sausage start to get a coating. And that's when you know you're almost there. Because you really won't see a gravy starting or anything, and it won't have the same look as a roux. The texture of the roux. A little bit different because it's clinging to the sausage.
So there's no real precise measurement for the flour, it really just takes eye technique, because most different sausages have different fat contents and.
For this particular recipe, absolutely, it's not a recipe that I found in a book. This is actually my father-in-law's recipe, and I, always thought when you're gonna make your sauce first and incorporate it. No, yeah, it's fantastic. It really is. It's a great, easy way to make a gravy. I'm gonna go one more tablespoon. So this is 4 tablespoons. There was quite a bit of fat here, which, if we wanted to, drain it off. But this is gonna be just a super savory, flavorful gravy for our biscuits.
So Dave, do you know when the actual dish of biscuits and gravy became more popular?
I do not. I'm gonna take a guess just for fun. How about like a large chain like Denny's or something like that?
Way before that.
Wow, all right.
Actually, the dish was popularized shortly after the American Revolutionary War in 1783.
Holy cow.
So back then, the foodstuffs and the food supplies were so limited that diets were heavily consisted of wheat and animal byproducts. So really, if you think about this recipe, there's not a whole lot of else in there. It's everything that they could farm easily and could raise live as themselves, and it went together in a quick one dish recipe in one pot, and that's it. So, and again, it's been a huge influence in the South ever since.
Well, I'm happy that it is here with us. One of my favorite breakfasty, brunchy types of things. So same thing when you're making a roux for a sauce, a bechamel, add your milk in. I didn't know exactly how much I was going to need because, again, we're talking about eyeballing this recipe. So I brought a half a gallon of milk down. We're not going to use the whole half a gallon, I'm certain of that. But depending on the consistency, depending on how much fat, how much flour you have in there, might take a little bit more than a cup. Usually when I do a pound of pork or a sausage like this, making my gravy, it's about between a cup and 2 cups of milk. But you can see it kind of coming together.
So would you say with this particular dish, you have to let the roux heat through to create the thickening? So you want to add a little bit of milk at a time, and so you get the appropriate thickness that you're looking for?
Definitely want to incorporate it slowly. If you dumped it all in, again, the flour could clump up almost the same way when you're beginning to add the flour with the fat. You want to kind of slowly incorporate it so it doesn't clump up. But you can see this now. You can see it's very almost roux-like. Now we're getting there, cooking down, and milk.
I like that you used the fresh sage because it gives it some color. Because usually I'll buy like my sausage already with sage in it and you don't see it.
Right,
So
right.
that's
And
kind of nice.
I think that one of the secret ingredients, one of my favorite secret ingredients, there's one other secret ingredient I'll share with you, but sage is really what makes breakfast sausage. It's usually just salt, pepper, and sage. But I'm going to add, as long as we're talking about it, because we're getting ready, as soon as we get this a little bit looser, I'll start adding some seasonings. My secret ingredient is white pepper. I think that white pepper adds a really nice depth to the gravy. Some people don't like white pepper. It's got a little bit of a bite to it. You find it in Asian foods, in Asian recipes, and you find it in European foods. You find it in German and Polish types of recipes. And I don't know if it's Polish in me, but I love white pepper. It's just delicious. And as the sauce begins to incorporate here, faster.
Well, and I can see why this would have become a popular dish back then, because if you had to feed, you know, your farm crew, and it kind of sticks to your ribs, so it's good to get you through lunchtime.
Definitely. We're getting there.
I wish you all had smell-o-vision, because it smells so good in here.
I'm actually going to keep it right here, and while we finish off the rest of the dish, let that kind of just, we may add a little bit more milk. But the next step is, we're going to go ahead and get some plates started. As long as I have my glove on, get our garnish together. A little bit of green onion garnish, our scallions. Just take the tops off, they're kind of a little brown and not so pretty. Again, I don't know if you remember last time I did scallions, I really like a really steep bias cut on these. I think they look absolutely gorgeous. That should be plenty for us. Get that up to the side, and voila!
Ooh, how about
Just
you?
like Emerald.
Bam.
Here's what the biscuits look like, nice and brown. You can take them a little bit farther if you want a little bit more color on them. They do tend to kind of dry out if you leave them in the oven too long. So I'm
Here,
going to go ahead and take.
I'll take the unbaked ones and put them on it that way.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
We are right about there. Looking good.
So Dave, would you say that there's a right or wrong way to eat biscuits and gravy? You
No, I
know
don't-
that about 57% of the country prefer to split their biscuits, and the remainder prefer to cube them up or do a rough tear on them and pour their gravy over it.
Really?
So
Very interesting.
what's your opinion?
There's a step that I'm skipping here. I like to slice them this way because when I toast them in a pan, which we could have done, didn't know how much time we would have, didn't know how long the gravy would take to really come together. But I love when you actually, I can't sear one here because we'll use, here we go. We'll do one real quick, just to show what it looks like. And to me, toasting bread in a pan like this or flat top, to me is so much better than a toaster or, get that in there. Turn the heat up just a little bit so we can speed this up. And then we'll finish off the dish with some eggs over easy. Check on our gravy. I'm gonna add a little bit more milk. That lemonade's looking really good right now. It's warm.
And if you remember from a few episodes back, lemonade is a thirst quencher because the acidic acid in the citrus continues to make your saliva flow, so you can continue to feel like you're not thirsty after you've even had it. So it's a great summer thirst quencher.
All right, well, I got dibs on that one.
All right.
For the sake of time, you can see it starting to toast up a little
Yeah.
bit. What you can do is a lot of times when it's in the pan, just press down, and this is with any kind of bread, a baguette or French bread, whatever you're toasting. Just kind of press down in the center to get some of that center part toasted. But I'm going to take some olive oil, so we're not so smoky. Pan got quite a bit like hot there. When I'm using butter, I always like to use a little bit of olive oil or another kind of fat, a high heat fat. I just think that it keeps the butter from burning. And when I'm doing eggs especially, I'm trying doing eggs with just olive oil or avocado oil or grapeseed oil. And there's just something about cooking eggs that it's just not enough. You need that animal fat. Laughing at me?
I am.
All right. I think that gravy looks great.
It does.
A little bit more milk just for fun, because it's gonna tighten up all the way through the eggs.
have to say, it does smell quite a whole lot like Sunday morning breakfast in here.
It's something about Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, nice big breakfast.
Will you come over to my house on Sunday and make me breakfast?
I'd love to, but I'm usually here on Sundays.
Oh, man, you're feeding the people.
Yes. All right. So I guess to review real quick while we're waiting on the eggs, super simple recipe, 6 ingredients. This small batch was 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. I bumped that up just a little bit just based on the ones I made last week. I think I needed a little bit more salt. Salt when you're cooking breads is really important. If you think you're trying to avoid salt for whatever reason, your doctor tells you to avoid salt. Breads taste like garbage without a little salt. So yes, be healthy, watch your salt. Very important. High blood pressure, watch your salt, so on and so forth. Just get these little, whoops, I got one clip. There we go.
I would have had them all over the floor.
All right, and I'm just taking it right off the heat after the flip because I like my egg yolks nice and runny, especially in biscuits and gravy. It just adds all that. So we're pretty much done there. And kosher salt and 4 ounces of cold butter. 4 ounces is, if you buy a pound in sticks, 1 stick. And a cup of buttermilk. That was it. So super easy. Let's go ahead and top our biscuits.
Yes.
And this is the best part, right? Trying to make
Say
sure.
something for the other one.
This was probably the dish everyone wants, right?
A lot of gravy. I'd go heavy on the gravy. Typically, I'd go 2 eggs on each, but since we had just a demonstration here, each. And the steaks, while you're doing stuff live, forgot the salt and pepper. I don't have any tasting spoons with me, so I'm going to use my gloved finger. Let's just see what this tastes like, because I don't want to disappoint it. Yeah, definitely use some salt. You guys are going to taste this. I will just get a little salt on the top. That'll help. We were talking about the white pepper, my secret ingredient. We got to talking.
Yeah,
And I just totally
distracted
blew it.
you.
A little bit of salt.
Don't you just gotta make it
Rice, onions, pinch of white pepper, because now it's not mixed in, that'll be a little strong. Just a little bit for some flavor. And we'll get our scallions in. And biscuits and gravy.
Lovely.
Hope you're hungry.
Absolutely. Who's gonna try?
I've got forks somewhere.
Stacy, you wanna try?
Oh, thank you.
No. I'm not gonna. I like biscuits.
All right.
You have a sausage first.
You're not a sausage person?
Oops.
Ah, I'll leave you the one that's toasted. Because
Dave,
I
I
like
think
mine soft.
we need a challenge to be accepted here. I think we need to find out something Stacy does like, so that we can make something she'll sample for everyone at home.
Anybody else want to try? No, you're good?
No,
All right, well, I'm gonna go in
they're-
and you cookie. and-
Please do, because it's no fun eating
The
alone.
secret for me is getting that egg yolk first.
Because I'm not cutting it with a knife, so I just want the biscuit gravy. I'm happy about it. I'll just bottle the rest of it.
Not
High
bad.
five. John McInerney, you would like that. Yes, you would. Anybody else? You love it too. He's the best.
Chef David, I think this will be a special first week of June, right? For a Sunday?
It's a special?
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
I'm not sure. I
I think the first Sunday in June is special for Sunday.
definitely put on the menu.
And when the men's breakfast ever happens, don't you normally do biscuits and gravy
I think
for
they
the
do.
guys?
I don't
Why
think
is
they
it
do.
always for the guys? The ladies don't want the biscuits and gravy.
I mean, I love some biscuits and gravy, but I also have to make vegetarian versions.
So that's why I have this glorious body. That, whatever. Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you.
You are welcome.
I can't give this back to anybody, so.
No, it's all yours. It's all yours.
So sorry. I'm gonna hide it over here.
We had fun. Thank you.
That was. To start, just come and kind of stand in front of the flowers and just wave, and then you can walk that way. So we
Camera's over there.
So we can keep our 6 distance, and the camera's right on the wall there with the little eyeball.
Okay.
Don't be shy. Keep 6 feet. Yay! Let's wave. Hopefully you'll recognize our dining wait staff. Keep on going. Keep going. Gotta walk on. Oh, this is Abigail. This is shy. Don't be shy.
You can curtsy.
What's that girl's name? Keep going.
Camera's up there.
The camera's right there. On the wall. Yay! Dining. Thank you for delivering our food.
Great management, you too.
Come on,
Good management.
management.
Yeah, I mean, they have to see me all the time.
That's right. There's the queen of the dining team. And she.
It's so good to see people.
Yay!
Yay, thank you so
much. We are so blessed to have an awesome dining team.
Yes, they rock.
And the fun things they are coming up with.
They're so creative.
Oh my gosh. And then they had time to make the staff cookies.
I know.
What's up with that?
Awesome.
I don't think they sleep.
I don't think so.
Do they have?
I think they're eating the cookies and they're getting the sugar rush and they just keep thinking things.
Ooh. I wonder if there's like a bunker or something that they sleep in, and
Secret
they just.
It used to be secretive.
You exposed our secrets. Where are we
Well,
gonna
we
sleep
gotta
next?
find out where it is.
So that when residents need a midnight snack, they can come knock on your bunker door.
Also, instead of actually making a beauty shop in the art, whatever,
There you go.
art studio, that's where you guys are secretly
They'll be our
staying.
dorms. We'll just look down.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a good
And
plan.
do you all have Cookie Monsters to sleep with?
No.
Oh, come on, people. You don't have a Cookie Monster stuffed animal to sleep with? I'll have to bring you. I have a little one, and he goes,
Cookies. Cookies. I love cookies.
We're past the time while we're waiting for Chef David. Did you guys ever watch this TV show with these 3 ladies? Was it Alice?
I think it was called Alice.
Alice. Can you imagine having her as your waitress?
And Flo.
Yes, Flo always
is
chewed gum.
Yes.
Kiss my grapes. That's right, Stacy said that. Not that Stacy, we have 2 Stacys. Sometimes it's a little confusing with 2 Stacys.
I know.
No E. Yeah.
Knows how to cook. Does it?
Yeah, I know. That's, kind of sad. Well, are you guys almost ready to bring it over? Yay! And I'm so excited because, last Thursday was National Biscuit